The time has finally come. It's something that I've been absolutely terrified of for quite some time. Ever since we kind of announced the Pacific project, I have been absolutely terrified of actually working out the Pacific Redstone. You see, we want this system to be incredibly fancy. We want it to work perfectly, we want it to be reliable, we want it to be fast, and we want it to be something that isn't particularly complicated for people to use. I totally forgot about this absolute monstrosity of a redstone system. So obviously this is very serious business. Very, very serious business. It's very technical business. I need to take this... Yeah, I need to be focused, you know, I need to be serious. I need to not goof around in the slightest. So for our first incredibly serious task... This is the stupidest war I've ever had with someone. We're trying to do... We're seeing... Oh, he got me! You win! So, with all the serious bits completed, now it's time for the fun stuff. As you know, I absolutely love building up redstone contraptions, so this is not going to be a serious episode in the slightest. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm nervous, because it is scary, but I am incredibly excited. First things first, we need to get all of the redstone supplies for this thing, and it is going to be a lot of redstone supplies. So you know what that means? Resource gathering time-lapse time. This is me, while editing, deciding that that actually is super boring. This is a decent quantity of redstone resources. I imagine this should be enough just to build up our test system, I would have thought. I would hope. So I'm going to try my best to explain to you what the Pacific system is actually going to be, because we kind of haven't explained that just yet. I know Iskal has created these incredible blueprints that do make it relatively clear, but we're not actually going to be doing that. So let me explain. Frantic signage is about to ensue. And here is Pacific, all beautifully laid out. I can't wait for Iskal to see this one. Pacific plan. Pacific will not accept diamonds. Hermits will each get their own Pacificoin bank accounts. They will convert their diamonds into Pacificoin, which will be stored in their individual accounts. When they enter Pacific, they will select their account using a button panel. They will then be able to see their balance. When they go into the store section of Pacific, they will see each chest of items has a button under it. Every time they buy something, they press the button and the correct number of coins will be deducted from their account. If they do not have any coins in their accounts, then the chest will be blocked off and they won't be able to buy any more items. If the last purchase they make costs more than their remaining balance, then they will be overdrawn, and when they deposit more Pacific coins, the amount they owe will be automatically withdrawn from their account. It's really quite simple. Is it though? I mean, is it though? I've done a handful of redstone tests in my testing world, just working out some rough ideas for various different elements of the system. It's not simple, alright? It's not simple. It's also quite big. I don't actually know if I've got enough space vertically in this area to fit it in. Let's stop fanning about though and get to business. Right, first plan of action is to build up the bank account selection system. Now this is just a simple RS Snorlatch array, which I think should now all be in place. Now obviously because this is just a test, I've only got 4 members of the Hermitcraft server in place instead of the full list. But we've got me, we've got Grian, we've got Iskal, and we've got Etho Slab. And if I hit one of these buttons, we should see that, yes, okay, so we've got one output, and then if I hit this button... Good! Now I need to connect that into a little chest reveal system, which I think I've just about managed to pull off as well. So now when I hit one of these buttons, for example, green here, that closes up, and then this one opens. Then if I hit Iskal, that one closes. Then this one opens, and if I hit myself... Okay, I mean, that was definitely the easy bit, but it's good to see that my ideas are working. I'm going to be really professional today, and I'm actually going to change up my concrete colours when we move on to different circuits. So let's go with... Oh, I'm spoiled for choice now. we don't have enough space in the slightest. Oh my goodness. Anyway, lack of space aside, what I'm working on now is the balance detection system. So this is going to work out if the person actually has Pacific coins in their account. I absolutely love the fact that we can now crawl in Minecraft. I mean, I know this is not a recent addition, but it's a game changer. Another absolute game changer that I think is about to save me from an enormous headache is the fact that we can now place repeaters on the backside of pistons, which makes this redstone circuit possible. So if I quickly just show you what it does, as you can see, I am currently bankrupt. I've got no items on the inside of my chest here, but if I put items in, then that redstone lamp turns off. It's detected that I have a balance in my bank account. If I swap over to someone else who is bankrupt, you can see that the system has detected that. They are bankrupt, they've got nothing. And then if we go over to Iskal, Iskal actually has some things in his account, so that means that redstone lamp has turned off. So this redstone line right here is the one that is going to be blocking off access to the shop if the player doesn't have any money in their bank account. And the way that I've done it is I've connected these pistons into our selector panel, so whichever one is selected, it will retract that corresponding piston, and if there are items inside the account, then it will send a redstone signal through the block into this redstone line, telling the system that the person is not bankrupt. And if there is no comparator output, then obviously this redstone line will be off, which means that the system will know that they are bankrupt. It is really quite simple. It's just, it sounds complicated, okay? Next up, we have to do the transaction redstone. So this is the redstone circuit that is going to be removing balance from the account when they actually make a purchase. You know what this means? Different color of concrete. I actually think this should be quite easy as well, because the idea behind this part of the circuit is all I have to do is, once again, connect up some things that will unlock hoppers to our button selector panel. Everything is just running back into this button selector panel, and although it looks complicated, I know this, although it looks complicated, we're literally just taking outputs from the button selector panel and running them into things. I am so glad I used different colors of concrete for this, for the simple fact that it just looks really cool. We need to do this in the official Pacific system, 1000%. Imagine how much less cool this would look if it was all made out of dirt. I said that with a lot more aggression than I was expecting to. New concrete. So that blue circuit that I've just created there just unlocks the hopper for the account that you've selected, which is great. That's exactly what we want it to do, but without this extra circuit that I'm going to add on the front, that would mean when you select your account, it just drains the account, and that's not good. So this little circuit will make it so that the hoppers only unlock when a purchase is being made. So when a transaction is being done, when we actually want the account to be drained, and then that blue circuit out the back will make sure it drains the correct account. All of those things work together to create, hopefully, a functioning system, I really hope. And if we didn't have the overdraft system to worry about, then that would actually be everything on the banking front. So let's say, for example, Iskal accesses his account, he has 32 Pacific coins inside of his account, and then he buys something that is worth 16 Pacific coins. The shopping system will then send that through into this line right here, which will then unlock the hoppers, and it will take his balance down to 16. So that has worked. And obviously all of this stuff that I was doing over here would be done automatically. And I'm going to work on that now, because frankly, I'm still a little bit scared of the overdraft system. I mean, it works in theory, but maybe not in practice, I don't know. I've designed elements of it in my redstone testing world, but I haven't knitted all of it together just yet. And that's where things are going to get interesting. Anyway, I'm currently working on the button panel for our shops. So this is where the player will actually grab the items from, and that is going to work very much like a traditional shop. The only thing that's slightly different is, instead of placing your diamonds back in the chest, you hit this button, and that will charge your bank account somewhere else. And these pistons are the pistons that are going to stop you from making any purchases if you have nothing in your bank account. But we're not going to worry about those for the time being. For now, I want to focus on the cost system. So each one of these items should cost a different amount of Pacific coins, and when I hit the button, the correct number of Pacific coins should be deducted from the person's bank account. Now, the way that I'm going to do that is by making use of items. So if I press this button right here, those droppers will pulse 5 times each. So that means that it's 10 times in total, which means 10 items would have been sent out by these droppers, and we can run those into a water line, and then run them into a hopper line, which runs past here. So as you can see, we've got a comparator running out from this hopper, which will be powered when the 10 items are going through, and that comparator runs into this system, which will unlock our hoppers. So as those 10 items are passing through that hopper line, they will also be unlocking these hoppers, allowing 10 items to move from this chest down through the hopper and basically be removed from the bank account. So if 20 items pass through that hopper, then that will allow for 20 items to be removed from the bank account. If 5 items pass through here, then 5 come out the bank account. You get the picture, I hope. It's all sounding incredibly confusing. I think it should start to make more sense once we get more of the redstone in. Although now that I've said that, that actually sounds a little bit counterintuitive. Right, let's get this store system all connected up into our bank system, and that should be actually everything completed. Once again, if we completely ignore the existence of the overdraft. Some extra details that I've added that I think you'll like, some comparators which tell you the stock level of each of the chests, and also extra storage for all the items in the store. If I ever run out of slime balls, just remind me that I have hundreds of stacks lying around in the laboratory Laboratory, I think we might be ready for our first official test. Let's start things off in Iskal's account. Iskal's doing well, he's got 64 Pacificoins, and that means he can access all of the chests in the store, whereas if I switch over to my own personal account, I'm not doing so well. Okay, I've got 0 Pacificoins, and that means that I can't access anything in the shop, so I'm going to deposit 40 Pacific coins into my account, and that means that I can now access these chests. So now it's time for me to start buying some things. For the time being, I'm going to buy some comparators, and I'm also going to buy my love, because that seems important, and we should see that my balance will drop down to 5. So let's see. It starts getting real nerve-wracking, but there it is. Okay, so my account balance has dropped down to 5, and then if I buy one more thing, say for example this torch, I have exactly 5 in my account, so I should be able to afford this just about, but I've run out of money, and that's blocked off access to my shops. Now this system all works perfectly until you run into situations like this. So I currently have a balance of 5, but I can buy something that costs 20 coins. And the 5 is going to be removed from my account. You know, I'd be able to buy the items because as far as I'm concerned, I've purchased them. And yeah, you know, I run out of money and I can't actually get anything more. But I've just gotten away with essentially stealing 15 Pacificoins. And the thing is, it's kind of accidental stealing because you've bought something thinking that you had enough money and then you just didn't. So that is where the overdraft system comes in. Each one of the bank accounts has to have an individual overdraft system that stores how many extra Pacificoins they owe, so that when they next deposit Pacificoins into their accounts, that balance is then restored. So the overdraft gets removed immediately as soon as they deposit their coins, and then they're left with the actual amount that they have in their account. Goodness gracious me, even saying it just sounds a bit confusing, doesn't it? So I've gone and done a little bit more research and development in the redstone testing world, and I think I have a rough idea of how this can work. So these chests down here are going to be the individual overdraft accounts. This is where the overdraft value is going to be stored. And those chests are going to start filling up once our bank account runs out. So you know we've got this redstone line which detects when the bank account is empty and closes off the shop. We're also going to use that to activate the overdraft system. So this redstone torch right here will turn off, meaning the items will be diverted downwards into here and they'll be stored down here. But we need to make sure that they go into the correct account, which means that we need to connect the output from our button panel into the hoppers down here and only unlock the one that is selected. That is nothing outrageously complicated so far, because as far as I can tell, yeah, I can connect up right there. That is so easy. Just need a few of these little guys to provide the updates and we should be golden. Oh, goodness gracious though, things have just gotten complicated in my head because we need to know which one, the system needs to know if there is overdraft and if it needs to clear overdraft. Oh, it needs to know if there's overdraft and it needs to know to clear overdraft. It needs to know what account to clear the overdraft from. And, oh gosh, I wasn't really planning on leaving that in the episode, but I think occasionally you need to hear my meltdowns. I've made a little bit of headway, but honestly, not really that much. So I think I'm going to clear out my head by clearing out some space. You know, hopefully the visual metaphor of it all will produce some good ideas. And it kind of worked. And my notebook also worked. I basically wrote out the problem as a word problem, then solved it as a word problem. So if the bank account balance equals 0 and there is overdraft, then keep the overdraft. If the bank account balance is greater than 0 and there is overdraft, then clear the overdraft. And this obviously all has to apply to the bank account that is currently selected in the system. So that's another and as well. It's kind of like if bank is greater than 0 and there is overdraft and the correct account is selected, then clear overdraft. Now, what does that look like operationally, I hear you ask? Well, I'm going to try my best to show you. So this is the first part of that circuit where if account balance equals 0 and there is overdraft, then keep overdraft. If the account balance is greater than 0 and there is overdraft, then clear out overdraft. The issue is, it's a bit of a silly part of the circuit. It doesn't quite have all the information. It doesn't know what account is being selected. So if I changed accounts to an account that does have a balance, it would just start clearing out the overdraft, even though it's in a different account, which is where, once again, connecting things up to the button selector panel is going to be pretty important. There is one final piece of redstone to tie it all together, and that is this redstone line right here, which connects the output from the overdraft chests into the hoppers underneath the bank accounts. So for example, if this person right here, they've got 18 items in their overdraft chest, they put more money into their bank account and it satisfies all the conditions for the overdraft to start clearing, those items are going to move out of this chest along this hopper line, and those 18 items are going to pass this comparator, which will then unlock these hoppers at the top underneath the bank accounts, and it will allow 18 items to be removed from the bank account that is currently selected. Phew. I think that might be all the logical explanation I need to do in this Hermitcraft episode. The rest is going to be fiddling around with timings and things, I imagine, because I'm sure there's things that aren't synced up, but logically, it all works. Logically, but not testily. How have I ended up with a potato in my inventory? And most importantly, I really need to get this potato as far away as possible from this redstone contraption. There is a history of potatoes in technical redstone shops, and I don't want a repeat. Tway with you, potato. Tway with you. A bunch of redstone headaches and extra redstone circuits later, I think we're good to test this thing out. So, I'm going to select my own personal account because I don't want to use anyone else's bank accounts, as that's kind of a little bit fraudulent. And I am going to have a balance of 24. Let's keep things real simple here. Okay, and I'm going to buy something that is worth 30. So that is a comparator and a piston. So that means that I should be 6 items overdrawn. So yeah, I mean, if I then put 16 items into this chest, my balance should go down to 10. I'm so nervous right now. I'm so nervous. Something's happening, okay? Yes! 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 That actually worked! That actually worked. Now it's time for the really big test. So Mumbo is overdrawn by 8, Grian is overdrawn by 8, and Etho is about to be overdrawn by 14. Everything seems to have been calculated properly down here. Now if I put 20 into Etho's account, he should be left with 6, which he is. That's fantastic. Swapping over to Grian, if I put 20 into his account, then he should be left with 12. Let's see. Good! And finally, for my personal account, it should be exactly the same thing. So this verifies that we can have multiple different overdraft accounts working all at once. Multiple people can be overdrawn, and it stores that information in the system. This is smart stuff. Obviously, I've got a lot more testing to do because this is quite a complicated system, but everything seems to be working properly currently, and I have tried my best to make it as user-friendly as possible. For example, as you've seen, you can press these buttons in pretty quick succession and all the charges will be calculated properly. The only thing that you can't currently do is obviously you can't switch bank accounts while you're in the middle of a transaction because, well, that's just, why would you want to do that? I mean, you can't do that in real life, so you can't do it in Minecraft either. The other one is, despite my best efforts, I couldn't make it so that you can pay off your overdraft in multiple installments. So say, for example, you're 20 Pacific coins overdrawn. You have to make sure that you put 20 Pacific coins or more into your bank account. Otherwise, you're just going to get charged extra. You're going to lose out on Pacific coins. And that right there should be the last technical thing in today's Hermitcraft episode. I'll be honest, my brain is frazzled. My brain is literally... It's a peanut that has touched the surface of the sun. It's that frazzled. I definitely need something to reset it, some eye bleach, some brain reset juice, and I think I've got the perfect thing. Let's give Iskal a call. All right, Iskal, how does 30 seconds sound? Is that all right?
Yes, that's exactly what we need.
3, 2. Oh, you're starting early, dude.
I'm sorry. I'm enthusiastic.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go. All right, time's up. Okay, cool. See you later. I think that helped both of our mental states right there. It turns out he had done a bunch of redstone today as well, so both of our brains were pretty frazzled. And, you know, sometimes you just need a bit of floaty action. So that is my redstone system. That is pretty much everything. Oh, yeah, a war happened.
Hey! Oh!
Nice.
No!
Oh! 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 No! Oh, no! Oh, my goodness!
Oh, so
Oh my goodness, am I in there?
I don't know.
The mycelium resistance take the win.
So, Hep lost. I was on the losing team and we were tasked with cleaning up the shopping district. The good news is, though, is that I was actually away on the day that they cleaned up the shopping district, which means I didn't have to clean up the shopping district at all. So who's the real winner here? I don't think the Hep people like me anymore. I hope at least you like me. You know, you watching this video right now, I hope you enjoyed this extremely technical and nerdy Redstone Hermitcraft episode. I can't lie, this has been one of my favourite Hermitcraft episodes to record, but because it's just all the stuff that I love. I've just loved geeking out, like fully geeking out and trying to make this as good as possible, and I think it is as good as possible.